Research paper. Aberrant cortical excitability reflects the loss of hand dexterity in musicians' dystonia. Shinichi, Furuya, Kazumasa, Uehara, Takashi, Sakamoto, Takashi, Hanakawa. First published, April 25, 2018. DOI.org web link. Edited by Janet Taylor and Richard Carson. Read the full text. ePDFPDFTOOLS share. Abstract. Key points. Dystonia is a movement disorder characterized by abnormalities at multifaceted aspects of motor dexterity and neural functions. Evidence bridging between pathophysiology and movement abnormalities is limited. A novel finding was that in focal task-specific dystonia, FTSD, an aberrantly reduced inhibition at the motor cortex was related to the temporal imprecision of the dexterous finger movements, whereas an elevated facilitation was associated with an abnormally sluggish transition of finger movements from flexion to extension. We newly identified two sets of behavioral physiological covariations as hallmarks of hand FTSD, which is clinically significant because these findings provide novel evidence connecting distinct types of malfunctions within the motor cortex at rest with distinct aspects of motor dexterity degradation in FTSD patients. Abstract. Focal task-specific dystonia, FTSD, compromises dexterous movements. A proposed pathophysiological mechanism of FTSD involves malfunction of the motor cortex, M1. However, no evidence is yet available regarding whether and how malfunctions of M1 are responsible for the loss of motor dexterity. Here, we addressed this issue by assessing both M1 excitability and detailed movement parameters, as well as their relationships. Transcranial magnetic stimulation was applied over M1 in 20 pianists with FTSD, 20 healthy pianists and 20 non-musicians. The patients demonstrated both reduced short-interval intracortical inhibition, SICI, and elevated intracortical facilitation, ICF, compared with the healthy controls. This indicates that the abnormal cortical excitability reflects pathophysiology but not current skills. Hand motor dexterity was evaluated by position sensors during piano playing at 2 tempi. The patients showed delayed transition from finger flexion to extension at the fastest tempo and greater timing variability of the finger movements. Furthermore, multivariate analyses identified distinct sets of covariation between cortical excitability and dexterity measures. Namely, the CC measure and ICF measure were associated with the temporal variability of the movements and the quickness of the transition from flexion to extension, respectively. Specifically, the reduced inhibition and elevated facilitation at M1 in pianists was related to the temporal imprecision and impairment of quick transitions in the sequential finger movements. The present study provides novel evidence associating M1 malfunctions with dexterity loss.